quý vị chàng, Krong Hi Buôn Cầu, chẳng hơn đáp đá các lệ mà chăm nào hội nghị thượng đỉnh tôn giáo toàn cầu. Lẽนั้นmồm Việt Nam Cộng Hòa, tôm luật sư làm bờ mì, xin nhà đấu tranh nhân quyền cờ chi chàng tar ba lẫn là.
Ready.
Kính thưa quý vị, chúng tôi là Phan Quang Trọng, người bên cạnh chúng tôi là bà Ann Bowody, là một vị luật sư và là sáng lập viên của tổ chức Jubilee Campaign, một tổ chức tranh đấu cho tự do tôn giáo và đặc biệt là quan tâm rất nhiều đến tình hình tự do tôn giáo tại Việt Nam. Hello, Ann.
Hello. Good morning.
Wonderful. Good morning. It's great to see you. And where did you have ever, involved in the helping the religious prisoner of conscience in Vietnam?
Thank you for that question. It's been literally more than 30 years. Back in the late 1980s, I became involved with Jubilee Campaign while I was still in law school.
Yeah.
I'm a lawyer. And at that time, the ministry called Jubilee Campaign, which is based in the UK, was undertaking prisoners of conscience
Right.
who were located in Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's how I became understanding that this was happening in Vietnam. And I started the US branch of Jubilee Campaign while I was still in law school.
Right.
And so it was an opportunity to understand the situation in Vietnam for religious persons there, particularly Christians. Those were our main focus. Our Christians that were arrested, jailed, and held prisoner for various alleged violations, but really we knew that they were in prison because they were prisoners of conscience, being believers and not willing to be registered or not willing to be subject to the Vietnamese government officials in the practice of their faith, in their love of Jesus Christ and their desire to worship Jesus Christ. And so that was happening, as I said, the late 1980s. Then in the year 2000, I took a congressional delegation. Our nonprofit, Jubilee Campaign, went to Vietnam with Congressman Joe Pitts and
wow.
David Alton, Lord David Alton.
Yes.
We took them both to Vietnam. They had arranged meetings with government officials. We raised the situation for religious minorities. I actually attended a Catholic Mass.
Oh,
I'm not personally Catholic.
is that
I'm
in
Protestant.
Hanoi or South
It was
Vietnam?
in Hanoi.
Oh, wow.
It was in Hanoi.
Yeah.
I'm not Catholic, but I enjoyed visiting. And Lord David Alton, who is Roman Catholic, he
Yes.
wanted to go there. We met with this courageous priest who was showing, and we were asking him, how could you be trained? How
Right.
would you describe your ability to have seminary?
Right.
And keeping that private, we were able to understand how difficult it is with seminary training. Essentially, they have to leave the country to obtain seminary training and so forth. So, but we had a great joy to meet this priest, which we met him afterwards at length after the Mass. We spent some extra time with him. And we were just overjoyed to be able to do that, but just the understanding of the level of persecution, because here he was a priest and couldn't study in Vietnam in a seminary. So that again helped awaken me as a Protestant to understand as well the situation for the registration of Protestant churches.
Right.
The laws in Vietnam are so restrictive that we couldn't actually properly register, Christian churches that were of the Protestant evangelical stream of Christianity.
Exactly.
And so that also were highly curtailed at the time that we were battling registration provisions in Vietnam, using the U.S. government resources, like, as I said, Congressman Joe Pitts, but also in the UK, David Alton, raising to Vietnamese officials, you're too restrictive on registrations, you're too restrictive on training of priests, and so forth. So we're all, as the Christian community, in the same unfortunate situation where we have such a challenge to have that happen. So dating, as I said, more than 30 years I've been involved, and those were some of the efforts that we made. And then over the years, we've done rallies here in DC for the Hmong and Montagnards. We know how seriously they've been persecuted and their communities decimated, everything from accusing them, false accusations of their communities, and of course they can't pass their faith on to the next generation. It's just been a huge challenge. So over the years, we've continuously raised it. Now, Boat People SOS, BPSOS, is a wonderful organization.
Exactly.
We have worked so closely with BPSOS over the years. One of the things we've done with them is we have consultative status at the United Nations.
Yeah.
So as a partner organization, BPSOS has actually prepared side events, other types of interventions. The UN permits organizations without consultative status to submit some of that material, but to have the highest level of access, they need consultative status. So we have been overjoyed over the years to partner with BPSOS at the UN Human Rights Council and other mechanisms within the UN. So we've had outstanding cooperation and partnership with BPSOS. The materials produced are phenomenal. The information gathered, we share that again with United Nations mechanisms, such as the Special Rapporteur on International Religious Freedom, such as some of the other mechanisms where indigenous groups their plight is raised with Montagnards and Hmong, and so we're able to do that as an organization ministry. We have opportunities like that, and it's just been an overjoyed to work with BPSOS.
Thank you for that. And recently you just talked about education in Vietnam.
Yep.
And you know the Catholic Church has involved in building numbers of schools in Vietnam. From elementary to high school to university.
Which were confiscated.
Exactly, which all confiscated. So observing Vietnam for the last 30 years, you see any improvement at all?
No. See,
That's
I don't
true.
see improvement. And this is why I do think that Vietnam ought to remain on the list of the countries of particular concern. In my presentation yesterday during your sponsored event here, I wanted to be more clear that Vietnam is violating. This is why the U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom, USERF, continues to recommend that Vietnam be placed on the country of particular concern list. There has been no improvement. They promised to then Ambassador John Hanford, the Earth Ambassador of the United States government back in 2006, they promised that they would not continue to oppress religious minorities, and yet after they were removed off the list, they backpedaled and have failed to fulfill their promises, and yet the State Department regrettably has not held them accountable. And so we as civil society need to hold them accountable, and that's what we're doing here. This week during this Earth Summit, we're holding them accountable, and we're grateful to be cooperating with groups here to do that.
Right. Besides that, it's leading to my next question is how Jubilee Campaign or Boat People SOS can push them further to make them accountable for their action.
Excellent. We need to be continuing to engage with the U.S. government, but also European governments. We need to raise this, for instance, with the UK. Once again, there would be vital opportunities to do that. The UK does have a Foreign Ministerial taking place the first week of July 4th, 5th, and 6th. That would be an opportunity, but also a longer-term engagement. The UK, for instance, has a special envoy as well on religious freedom, as does the EU. And putting and presenting reports, presenting information, continuing to do and undertake advocacy within the European Union context also does have impact. We know this from other countries, where if the U.S. fizzles out in terms of impact,
Right.
we then often are able to gather the same or similar impact from the EU, the European Union, or the UK in terms of engagement with governments. And so we need to be more broad-based in continuing to undertake the advocacy. And as I said, with BPSOS, it's been an outstanding opportunity to engage with the UN, and I definitely want to continue to do that because I do believe it has traction. There was a BPSOS report last winter, I think last fall,
Right.
where there was actually some favorable changes by the Vietnamese authorities towards Hmong villages, allowing
Right.
registrations.
Yes.
If I recall, the issue was at one point unable to register, and then suddenly they were permitted to register within some village context amongst Hmong. It wouldn't have happened without the UN
Right.
engagement, and that's where we have to keep engaging with the UN and other entities to ensure that continues. And BPSOS is vital because you're getting hands-on grassroots information that we can then, partner together to take to appropriate authorities.
Right. And the both people also have years and years of knowledge about the situation.
Yeah.
But the question I asked already yesterday,
Yeah.
but I want to repeat it again for our people out there. I mean, like the action that recently happened in Nigeria, where Blinken pulled them out the CPC list, things like that will happen. The government, especially U.S. government, might choose between their own interest or the geopolitics with the decision of conscience, decision of faith. How do we deal with that?
That's an excellent question, because if they continue to hold an opinion which harkens back to the Obama administration, you can, as long as it's quiet, silent worship, it's okay, but once you're expressing worship, even in the context of a church or meeting with others, then, governments have a right to restrain that. That is not true. That is in violation of international law. There's no such right to restrain the worship or to confine it just to four walls. You have the right to express your faith under international agreements on international religious freedom. People may not realize there's a charter that the UN has approved specific to international religious freedom.
Right.
I have that hanging in my wall. I face it every day. It's on a wall that I look at in my office, that charter on international religious freedom. It makes it clear you have the right to express your faith openly.
Right.
This is internationally recognized. The United Nations General Assembly passed that back, I believe, in 1984. Or 82, 83, or 84. So we need to be sure that countries abide by international law in permitting the free exercise of their religious faith and traditions. And so we need to continue to do that. We need to make sure that our State Department does not confine religious expression, as oftentimes they try to argue that, governments have the right to confine. No, they don't. And we need to be sure our government upholds international law here in the United States.
That's great. This is one last question. I know that we have a lot of people out there is really looking forward to the support from like Jubilee campaign, both people SOS, or even U.S. government. So if they're watching out there, what can you tell them and to show our solidarity with the struggle?
Excellent question. We do love our brothers and sisters of faith in the minority faith communities in Vietnam. As I said, I have traveled to Vietnam. I love Vietnamese people, the hospitality I experienced there. We want to continue to support our brothers and sisters of faith in Vietnam. And we will not rest until there is freedom of faith and expression, because without continuing to raise the profile and the situation, you'll feel alone. We don't want you to feel alone. We do hear your cries for freedom of religious expression, and we support that. We will continue to do that. I've been at this for 30 years. I can't retire for another 20 or 30 more. So I'm in it for the long haul, and definitely will be supportive. And I do want to express my love and appreciation for all of you, and we just really appreciate having this opportunity to share with you today.
All right. Thank you very much, Anne. And thưa quý vị, vừa rồi chúng tôi nói chuyện với bà luật sư và là giám đốc điều hành của tổ chức Jubilee Campaign, là một tổ chức tranh đấu cho tự do tôn giáo trên toàn thế giới. Và bà đã hứa rằng khi nào còn có áp bức kỳ thị tôn giáo tại Việt Nam thì bà vẫn còn tiếp tục hoạt động. Thank you.
You're welcome. God bless you.
God bless you.